Right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Birds Meet webinar. I assume I'm on air. Is that right? I am. My colleague Holly from BirdLife is helping out here. Yeah, my name is Sean Dooley. We are just having a few technical difficulties getting our guest speaker to appear on the screen. So bear with us while we try and invite Tim in. But in the meantime, I would like to thank you all for taking the time. Looks like there's 197 odd of you out there who are coming to get some tips. So clearly this has struck a chord with people. I'd like to welcome everybody. I'd like to just acknowledge that where I'm speaking to you from is on Wurundjeri Woiwurrung land of the Kulin Nation in what's now known as Melbourne. And I'd like to acknowledge the custodianship and stewardship that the Wurundjeri people did for this land for thousands of years before European settlement. And I'd like to pay respects to Indigenous Aboriginal people, elders who on whichever land you're calling in from. We have, hopefully, if we can get Tim on, we have a fantastic webinar prepared for you. I have to confess, for those who don't know me, I work at BirdLife Australia as the senior public relations advisor. I've been a bird watcher for many, many years. I've seen many, many birds, but I am a complete novice and klutz when it comes to bird photography. Tim van Leeuwen, who we are speaking to today, is the current president and one of the guiding forces behind the BirdLife Australia Photography Group. And Tim has been both a winner of the BirdLife Australia Photography Awards in the past in certain categories, and in recent years he's also been a judge of those same awards. And so to flag the fact that we have kept the Photography Awards open to submissions until August the 14th, I believe. We thought Tim would be the perfect person to talk about what you should be thinking about when you're thinking about submitting your images to the BirdLife Australia Photography Awards. We get so many entries and so many beautiful shots that I'm really looking forward to getting Tim's tips on not only, how I can make my very rank amateur bird photography better, but also if I was allowed to enter, how I should think in my head about what sort of photographs to enter into the Photography Awards. I first met Tim properly back last year at the BirdLife Australia Photography Conference, which was held in Harndorf near Adelaide. And it was just a magnificent conference with some incredible speakers. I was in awe of the photography that they presented and the way they talked about how they approached bird photography. And also I picked up so many incredible tips on how to improve my photography. So on the one hand, I was in awe of what I was seeing, but I was almost despairing because I thought I could never get even aspire to get to those heights. But I did pick up a lot of useful tips from that conference. And none more so than when I first spoke to Tim, I asked him, what do I do because my first camera I had, I dropped it in a swamp, and his advice will stick with me. He said, try not to drop your camera in a swamp. It really doesn't help you take good photographs. So we're going to get that sort of, that sage, next level advice on photography tips from Tim if we can actually get him in. So we're still working out if we can. Not yet. Not yet. So perhaps, hang on, I've got the Q&A here. We have a Q&A here where we will go through your questions. So it's interesting. Are people getting the event? This is what I'm.
I think that might have been first.
Oh, right. Okay. Right. That's 7 minutes ago. So people are. So if you do have questions that you would like photography tips from Tim, we can get that started. If you want to drop a question into the Q&A part of the of this session, then we can make sure that we can get those questions to Tim and he can see them. So
Yeah.
The technology is going very well currently.
Yeah. Try to call.
Okay, we can try and call him in.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm getting. I think I'm currently getting a spam call, everybody. So, so let's see how we go with this. So I just give him a call.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Put him on speaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sean, it says external participants are not permitted to join before the event begins.
Right. So I have opened the event.
Yes. And I'm trying to get in, but every time I try to get in, it when I join through the
Might be in.
Yes, I've just muted the mic. Can you talk again, Tim? Not on. Tim, you can hear me, but we can't hear you from this end for some reason. Excellent, thank you.
So is it only Tim?
Yes, I can't hear anything. This is.
Yeah. Can you ask if can people see you?
Yeah, so I'm getting. Yeah, could anybody put in the Q&A whether they can see and hear me at this stage? No, I'm getting people's comments. Not yet. Nobody's come through yet. We have 236 people watching our technology train wreck.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so we have somebody can see and hear. Thank you very much for that. Maybe this is could be a unique thing. We will potentially have to get Tim online and ask him to present the question. At least we can get him to answer some of these questions. So actually, I will get Tim back online. Yes, hi Tim.
So people can see you. So I think that's good.
Okay, so obviously I'm in delay there. I can hear myself from a few seconds ago, but we do have a couple of, while we try and sort it out, perhaps we'll get going. We do have a couple of questions. This is highly unorthodox, but you know, we're agile here. Oh, lost Tim again. So I will try and get you back, Tim. Yes, I think for now, while we work on this, Tim, I might try and do the questions over that we're getting on the Q&A, and be interesting whether people can actually hear Tim's response from my phone. All right. So actually, if you might, Tim, if you could mute the webinar so that we don't get the feedback and I can ask you the questions. Yeah, so okay, so actually if I can get if I put Tim to my computer speaker, can people hear?
hello, anyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can anyone out there in this, of the 237 people tuning in, could you let us know if you can hear Tim's response? Otherwise I'll have to relay it. Yes, we've got Oh, I got a thumbs up, but I'm not sure if it's one of the questions.
Let's just jump in. That's good.
Yeah, we'll chime in and we'll see how we go. And I can relay that. So perhaps actually our colleague Zoe is, oh, good. Somebody can hear Tim. Excellent. All right. So I'm going to go through the questions. We're nothing if not agile here at BirdLife and BirdLife Photography. So the first questions I can see, Tim, the questions come through is, how do you get a good photograph of a bird that is up in a tree where the bird appears dark but the sky behind the tree is bright? I hope this makes sense. It makes sense to me, Donna, because I recently, as I said in the intro, my camera is still not repaired from falling in the swamp, but I did borrow a friend's camera on a recent trip to Uganda, and I had that situation a lot where I was looking up in the forest in trees in the canopy, birds in the canopy or on a branch, and photographing against the sky, I really struggled with. Tim, what any tips that we could have for that?
Sure.
We think so, yes.
Okay. Able to do is exposed for the bird.
Right. Sorry, Tim. Some people saying they can't hear, so I'll just keep. It's like the UN here. I'll be translating. Tim said, when you have a situation where you've got light and dark, light will always win. So sorry. Continue, Tim.
ISO level. It could be.
Okay, so just pause there if anyone can't hear. You have to make adjustments, Tim's saying, in your camera to, or otherwise it will make the bird dark. So you need to adjust the ISO levels. Is that correct?
Yeah, the ISO, or you can reduce the speed of your camera.
Or you can reduce the speed of the camera.
Or you could reduce your f-stop, which is the your depth of field. So there's three options there you can play with, but then you adjust those until the bird becomes visible, and then you're correctly exposed. But if you are all on automatic, the camera will always default to the light, and you'll end up with a dark bird. That's why most people shoot manual.
Okay, so to sum that up, there are three options that you can play with: the f-stop, the ISO, and the speed of the shot. But if you're on automatic, the camera is always going to default and make the bird dark. So that's why most people in that instance will switch to manual. Is that a good summary, Tim?
Correct.
Excellent. Great. So yeah, so that's one thing. This year's theme for the thematic category for the BirdLife Photography Awards is birds of prey, and this is an instance where certainly I experienced in Africa trying to film, get shots of vultures and other things overhead. A very similar sort of thing was happening where I was getting very, very dark images. So this would work for shooting birds flying overhead, Tim?
In particular, yes, always, because what happens again, if there's light and dark, the light will overtake it, and it'll end up, the bird will be dark. So you need to expose for the bird, not the light.
Right. So Tim's saying, for those who can't hear, that you need to expose for the bird, not the light, because the camera in automatic will always go for the light over the dark. So it's going to focus, so it's going to highlight the sky behind it rather than the bird. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I can hear him now.
Oh, good. They can hear you now. I did switch a setting there, so that's good. I'd much rather hear it from you. It's feels far more real. So there's another one. Another question came in saying, how do you manage lighting quick enough to get a photo before the bird moves away? Does that make sense, that question, Tim?
Just repeat that again.
how do you manage lighting quick enough to get a photo before the bird moves away? I'm just wondering, is that to do with shutter speed, is it?
No, I think that's to do with how do you react quickly enough
Right.
to before the bird moves from that perspective. So in the modern cameras, you can appoint certain dials and buttons to do certain things. And on the back of my camera, which is an R5, the big wheel at the back is what I adjust my ISO with. The small dial at the top is what I adjust my speed with, and I can quickly move with finger and the top with my thumb and my top finger, move very quickly to adjust any settings before hopefully the bird moves. You're never going to get every shot, but and muscle memory becomes really important. So the more you go out and the more you practice, the better you get at adjusting your settings very quickly, because out in the field, that's what you have to be able to do.
Right, so muscle memory of practicing those.
Practice and go out and take lots of shots.
Lots of practice. I definitely need to do that, because I'm still turning the wheel on my borrowed camera in the wrong direction every single time. But maybe that's just me and as I have more senior moments. There's a follow-up question to the bird against light. Somebody was asking, but if you're exposing for the bird, won't it overexpose the sky or the source of light behind it?
The issue you've got there, do you want to photograph the bird or the sky? You can't.
Yeah.
So there is ways of doing that, but I think, just to keep it simple, if you are taking photographs and you're getting blackbirds because of the brightness of the sky behind, you need to make the adjustments. And yes, you'll blow out the skies. And when you bring it in to process it, you'll see the sky will be probably completely white.
Yeah.
But that's what will happen. But you need to do that. Otherwise, you're going to have a blackbird to process. And if you try to lighten the blackbird, you're going to end up with a lot of noise. And that's not a good thing either. So, I think you just need to adjust for that. I've got some examples later, if I can show them, of what's called high key photography, where you overexpose the bird with very strong backlight, and that's called high key. So you can adjust that when you become a bit more, have a bit more skill in that area. But initially, you just need to adjust your cameras to make sure the bird is well exposed.
Yeah, and I guess also, Tim, that I suppose it's what you want out of the photo as well, because if you're wanting to see the bird, whether it's for ID purposes or something like that, you really do want to focus on the bird. But you can get very artful aesthetics by using silhouetted birds. In fact, I'm thinking about one of your images that featured in the Photography Awards. I'm not sure if it was last year or in the last few years. The basically where you used a silhouette of the ibis.
That was backlit by the moon.
Right.
So the bird was completely black, even though it's a white bird. But I wanted to silhouette it, and that worked out really well. It was one of my favourite shots of last year. So,
and for those who got the invite to this, it's the little thumbnail that we have in the invite, if you're wondering what we're referring to. There's quite a few questions coming in, which is great. This is almost a good way to do this thing. Yeah. Although we'd obviously love to see Tim, and you don't want to look at my ugly mug for a full hour, I can assure you. But actually, this question, I was going to ask this question, and you did sort of answer it in your first answer about the three methods you can use to compensate for light. But this question always confuses me. What actually, Tim, is the f-stop?
Well, the f-stop relates to depth of field.
So F stands for field in that sense, for us to remember? No?
I'll confess that I don't know what F stands for. It relates to depth of field is the explanation of it. And if you have an f-stop of f13 or f16, which is a high number, then you'll probably get everything in the foreground and the landscape in focus. And that's what you find either macro photographers or landscape photographers will use f13 or f16. If you're a bird photographer, you'll find that a good go-to f-stop is f8. Or depending on your lens, because all lenses are different, and it's also about the amount of light coming into your lens. So if you've got a low number, which let's say f2.8 lens, then that'll be quite a wide lens, which allows a lot of light coming into your lens, which then comes into your camera. And so that's what the f-stop is, and it's also depth of field. So if you just want to get the head of a bird in focus and everything out of focus, other than that out of focus, you'd probably choose something like an f2.8 or f5.6 or something like that, depending on how close the bird is. But if you're wanting to get the whole bird or maybe two birds in focus, you might go to f11 or f13 to allow the extra depth of field to get more detail on those two birds.
Okay, so yeah, I always hear bird photographers talk about f-stop, and that actually clears it up. I'm going to go play with that tonight to try and work out. Another question that came in, and this is one I'm particularly interested in, having stood side by side on my recent African trip with someone who did have a mirrorless camera and seeing the results, but I'd love to hear what your thoughts on this. The question is, what are the pros and cons of mirrorless cameras versus traditional DSLR for bird photography?
Look, I could do an hour session on this, Sean, so let me do a quick summary for you.
Okay.
So what you have with an SLR is essentially beautiful cameras. I must say the 5D Mark IV, which was my last DSLR, takes amazing shots. But it has moving parts, and so it's more of a camera that is more traditional and has more moving mechanical parts. What you have with a mirrorless camera is essentially a supercomputer inside a camera body, and you now have non-moving parts such as the electronic shutter. And I've got a 5D Mark II, and I can take up to 30 frames a second, which is compared to the 5D Mark IV, which I think did 8 frames a second. And it doesn't have any moving parts, so it's essentially a computer. The other thing is there are improvements such as pre-capture. So what pre-capture does, it allows the camera to take, if you half press the camera, it'll take for about half a second number of shots. So if it's 30 frames a second, I'll have 15 photographs that'll keep taking, and if I don't use them, they'll continue to just take more shots. And then when I press the actual button, it'll then capture those ones. So I'm looking at a bird about to take off, and I'm not too bad at predicting it, but every now and then if you get a shorebird or something, they're up and gone before you notice it.
Yeah.
By pre-capture, I've got 15 shots, press the button. And those sorts of technology is quite amazing when you look at, and also eye capture. So it'll focus on the eye. The amount of focusing ability of those mirrorless cameras are amazing as well. So they're really a progression from SLR. I think over time most people will move, and if it wasn't a cost issue, if you had an SLR and a mirrorless camera and you had 100 photographers, and they said they're free, which one? I'd say 100 would take the mirrorless.
Yes.
It is the future.
Yeah, I have to admit, I was feeling very chuffed with my DLSR with my shots, and then I looked at just the back of the camera of the guy next to me with his mirrorless ones, even before I saw them properly, and you could just see it was just a next generation up of clarity, and yeah, everything just popped out. It was quite dispiriting because I thought I was taking good photos.
Well, part of that could be post-processing it too once you get them on there, but their ISO sensitivity also is quite amazing, and they've also got image stabilisation inside the camera as well as your lens, so the ability to shoot at low speeds is 10 times better than SLRs. And I can shoot up to 32 thousandths of a second in speed, whereas the the SLRs only go to 8,000. Now, I don't know what the application for that is in bird photography, but all I know is that the capability of the camera is far beyond what I need.
Right, okay. That I'll keep referring to the questions that are coming in, but that is a really good point to follow up with questions for something I wanted to talk to you about in regards to the BirdLife Photography Awards. Is with the advances in technology, like the camera's doing so much of the work for the photographer now, but what it can't do is work out the framing and the aesthetics and that artistic side of things that you want with your photos. It might be a good thing to talk about your experience both as a participant in the awards, but also as a judge. What sort of things to you, as particularly, let's focus on your role in the past as a judge. When you were judging some of the categories for these awards, what sort of things did you consider that made photographs stand out for you that when you were assessing them?
Well, I think when you look at because you've got to remember there's up to 5,000 photographs, Sean, that come into the entry.
5,000, wow.
It's a really large, and it's the best bird photography competition in Australia, and I can say that with confidence because it's the only all-bird competition in Australia. But you end up with 5,000 shots. You end up with a lot of really, really good shots and a lot of really, really ordinary shots.
Right.
So as a judge, you've got to quickly reduce the options in each of the categories down to around about, let's say, 20 or 30 that you can then judge on. And I must say that when you're looking at birds, a lot of bird photographs, you're looking for photos where the action or the light or the bird jumps out at you. So you need something that really is different or is really special. And I would invite all of the participants to go onto the BirdLife Australia Photography Awards website and have a look at some of the previous winners. They go back to about 2020, I think it is, each year. And you can see that the photos on there are outstanding. And there's a lot of them that didn't win, however, were shortlisted, which is what mine were last year. And yet, if you get a highly commended amongst 5,000 images, I'm pretty happy with that. So you're looking for something that's different. You're looking for something that's dynamic. You're looking for something that is got story appeal and something that shows the mastering of light. And, the best photographers that I see master light, they understand how light works, and they are able to present that with wonderful bird images through that process as well.
Right.
So that's as a judge. As a photographer, when I look at my images, you got to, everyone will know this to be right, is that we are our own worst critic. And often when I look at what I'm going to present, I often sit back and think, I'm not sure if this is going to be good enough or whatever it might be. But I've got to get over that and put forward images that I like. Because at the end of the day, I'm the one who's taken it, and I'm the one who's processed it, and I'm the one who's used the artistic intent to come up with an image. And what I'm looking for is an image that I really like in a category that it suits. So you look at the different categories that exist within the competition, and currently there are, where are the categories? I'll tell you what the categories are. So we've got bird portrait, birds in flight, bird behaviour, backyard birds, human impact, birds in landscape, and there is a special theme of daytime raptors for this year. So you need to go through and look at your images and make sure you present your image into the category that suits it best and gives it a good chance of doing well. And spend time on it. Make sure that I like to get my wife to have a look at the images and let me know what she thinks about them, and get third parties to do that. And then once you're ready, just put them in and then see what the judges think.
Yes, yeah, for sure. I'm trying to keep up with the questions as well. Somebody's asked about why we don't have the talk. We've gone straight to the Q&A. For those who came in a bit later, we have had a few technical gremlins. We can't seemingly get Tim actually on screen to give his talk.
We sent him a revised link. If you try, it's the latest email.
Okay, actually, Tim, while I'm chatting now, we've Holly has sent you a revised link, so maybe you might be able to
go off and back in.
Yeah, if you jump out and
the latest email.
Yeah, and check the latest email and see how that goes. That would be great. Yeah, so for those who came in late, unfortunately we haven't been able to get Tim up onto the screen, but hopefully you're able to hear with enough clarity his answers coming from the phone. They are certainly really enlightening, and yeah, I'm already picking up tips here. Actually, we might be able to answer this question quickly. It's not a technical question, it's about the competition. Somebody's asked, can you only enter one photo per person in the competition? But I believe you can enter into all categories. Do you know, Holly?
Yeah.
You can enter as many images as you like, but obviously pick your best. But don't send us everything off the back of your camera. The judges, as Tim said, like last year had 5,000 images to sort. And somebody's also sort of said regarding the photo awards, saying that the winners seem to be professional or semi-professional photographers, and what chance does hackers like me have? Well, I don't know what Tim's response would be, but mine is definitely you're not going to win it if you don't enter, or not. You're no chance of winning if you don't actually enter. So I certainly know over the years there've been. It depends on the categories too, but there have been a couple of times even first-time entrants have won their category or been highly commended in their categories. Particularly, I've found in the past, being adjacent to the photo award judges, is that often the impact, the human impact category tends to, sometimes it's more opportunistic, the photos, so where people see something that really affects them emotionally, and those categories have often been won by people who would in no way be regarded as near a professional photographer status. So definitely, I think when the judges judge, that they don't know who the photographer actually is.
Okay, I'm going to see if I can make him a presenter.
Okay, so we're on the cusp of making Tim a presenter, we hope.
I can't get in, Sean.
Okay.
Sorry. But did he have it open a second ago?
Did
Just hang on, I'll try again.
Yeah, because
it says you don't have the permission to join.
Yeah, if he just joins, I think I can request.
Okay, so if you can join, we think we can request that you become a presenter.
Okay, I'll try again. I'll go back to the original one that I had, which is on your calendar, Sean.
Thanks.
If you jump into the link you just were in, Tim, I think I might be able to add you.
And there's a question, is there a junior category this year? Yes, there is. There always has been. I think there is still.
Yeah.
I'm in now, so...
Here we go. I'm just going to add you in, I think. Okay, that's great. Okay, just disappeared. No.
Okay, it's disappeared. We have gremlins today, people. I'm really impressed and want to thank you all for sticking with us. We've still got 213 people online, despite our problems of the fact that you're just seeing me in a room and you're not seeing Tim or his ability to, he was going to share some photos with some tips with you. So, but we're making the most of it, making the best of it. There was also a follow-up question to the traditional digital camera versus the mirrorless, Tim. Somebody said, well, what are are there any advantages to a DSLR?
Well, I think in terms of bird photography, we're all I'm talking about the bird photography fraternity here, and this is a general statement. But before the mirrorless cameras came along, we were all happily, shooting away with our 5D Mark IVs and our Nikons and everything else with our lovely big lenses, getting wonderful shots. And all of a sudden, the mirrorless has come along, and because of the improvements in there, a lot of people have made the move. However, if someone said to me, I really would like to get into bird photography, then if someone bought themselves a Canon 5D Mark IV and a 1:400 lens, which they can get really cheap these days, they can get amazing shots with those once they learn how to use them.
Okay.
So I don't think people need to be too concerned that, that they might be missing out, and over time they might join the mirrorless area. But in the short term, can you still take wonderful shots with DSLR? Absolutely.
Yeah, that's good to know that, and that's sparked my interest as I, as I contemplate replacing my swamp camera, but not laden with cash. The idea of still being able to get a much cheaper but excellent quality DSLR is a very tempting thought. Yes, so let's see where we're going. Somebody has this is more specific, might not be for all brands, but somebody says they have an older Sony mirrorless camera, about 5 years old, that seems to be getting more grainy images than they once did. Tim, do you have any hints on or suggestions on settings to be able to manage that?
I think if it's showing those sorts of things, you might need to upgrade. The other thing is make sure you've got the most recent firmware in that camera, because firmware is updated a lot in different cameras. So make sure you've got the right firmware in there. But if it's producing what you consider to be substandard images at the moment, then either take it in and ask them to do a service of it, or it may be just time to update the camera. Okay, so it's
maybe get it serviced or make sure the firmware is updated, or perhaps update the camera. Okay, that's good advice there. Where are we going? So it says here, the next question is, does the photo have to be deliberate? I once got a great photo of a bird by accident. Well, I think really it's about the outcome, isn't it? So if you have one of those serendipitous photographic moments, then I think it's allowed to be entered, isn't it, Tim?
Well, I think at the end of the day, when I go over to Werribee, which I do with a good friend of mine quite regularly, it's very opportunistic. So you don't go out trying to deliberately take a certain type of photo. You just take what you can, and then you go home and you put it on the computer and you see what you've got. It's one of the great joys that I have is almost looking for diamonds amongst the thousands of shots. So I don't think, no, it doesn't certainly have to be choreographed or anything like that. It's just whatever you can get out there at the time, and that's the beauty of bird photography. You never know what you might get each day you go out.
Yeah, it's the beauty of birds too, and it definitely extends into the photography. We're getting a question about will we repeat this session because of the technical issues. We will definitely look at that, although whether we'll get a chance to do it before the August the 14th closure of the competition, we're not sure. But this is actually, as we're sort of getting into the fourth quarter of the hour, it's probably a good time to actually flag some things that are coming up. We have As we said, we've extended the deadline for entries into this year's BirdLife Photography Awards competition till August the 14th. 12th. Oh, sorry, I said 14th before. It's August the 12th. So there's still about 2 weeks left where you can still be taking images or getting your images ready to send. But also, I just wanted to talk to you, Tim, about if you could give a plug for BirdLife photography in general, but in particular, can you fill us in on the next BirdLife Photography conference, which I believe is in Canberra early next year?
Well, let me first talk about BirdLife photography as a precursor for the conference. So,
okay, BirdLife photography.
I'm a member of BirdLife Photography, have been since 2014, and as Sean said, I was president up until last year. And we have around 1,000 members, and all of us are fairly passionate about photography of Australian birds. We have the largest curated website of Australian bird images in Australia, and with over 38,000 images of Australian birds. And each one of those photos is curated. In other words, is a moderator will look at those images to make sure it's categorised correctly, named correctly, and is of the appropriate quality to be able to upload it onto our website. Anyone interested in joining BirdLife Photography, because we also have a lot of support for people on their journey, on their photographic journey. So if you're looking for a lot of good content on how to take better images, whether you are picking up a camera for the first time or you're quite well advanced, then I would encourage you to think about joining BirdLife Photography. It's a princely sum of $15 a year, so it's not going to break the bank. And but the resources we've got is quite amazing.
Yeah, so, I can vouch for that. That certainly a lot of the questions that are being asked today, there's lots of good information at your fingertips through the BirdLife Photography's website.
Correct. And so we're a national organisation, so one of the benefits is that as my wife and I, we travel with our caravan around Australia. So 2 years ago, we went over to Western Australia. On the way over, I was able to meet people in Esperance that I knew, and we went out bird photographing for the day. Then I went down to Albany with Nathan Watson and Georgina Stipler, which was absolutely fabulous morning. And then we went over with Keith Lightbody over to Western Australia. And the BirdLife fraternity is fantastic, wonderful group. So each 2 years we come together for a conference, and the conference will have a theme. The conference theme last at Harndorf that Sean was referring to was called The Art of Bird Photography, and we had a photographer from South Africa, Richard. I can't think of his surname. Isn't that awful?
I'm trying to think Richard, too.
But anyway, it was absolutely one of the best conferences that I've been to. It was terrific. And then next year we've got a conference in Canberra, and it's going to be held in Belconnen, actually, at the Mercure Hotel. And it's on the 7th and 8th of March. And there are field trips around Canberra on the 5th and 6th and 9th of March. So from the 5th to the 9th of March, we will have everything to do with birds. Out in the field, we have all the different manufacturers will be there with all their new kit that you can try and use when you're out in the field. You'll have really good photographers that you can ask good questions of and see how they do things out in the field. And then we have 2 full days full of presentations for that particular conference. And we've got all the speakers lined up, and it's going to be an absolutely fantastic conference. So if you can make it to Canberra on between the 5th and the 9th of March next year, make sure you call in and be part of the conference.
Yeah, definitely. I can vouch for that, having gone to the Harndorf one. And I can definitely vouch for the friendliness of the attendees. It was such a great vibe in between sessions as well. It was just terrific. For those of you who want to find out more, our colleague Zoe has put the link to, if you click on the link to the website for the BirdLife Australia Photography Group, it's in the Q&A section here. I just saw a couple of other questions I'll try and if we can do quickly in the last few minutes. One was a question about asking whether you would recommend capturing photos in RAW format, Tim.
Well, that's most definitely is the short answer.
Yeah.
The reason is if you use JPEG, then the camera will make all these adjustments to that image automatically. Whereas if you take RAW, all the camera does is record what it sees. And when you get back to your computer, you can make the adjustments that you want to make rather than allowing the camera to do it automatically. So all the best photographers I know will always use RAW. You also end up with more information through the image. So you end up with more feather detail, you end up with more colour, more it's just a far better overall image. But then the most important thing is when you go back and process that image, all the information is there for you to do that. Whereas in a JPEG, it's often in a compressed nature, and the computer or the camera's already made adjustments for you without you having any input.
Okay.
Which is not what you want.
And is it true that if you shoot in RAW, you use up your your card will be used up quicker? Is that correct?
That's correct.
So you've got to be aware of that.
It's a larger format, so
you'll
end up with larger images. But Canon has a format called C-RAW, which is about half the size of a normal RAW image. And that's what I use all the time. So there's virtually no degradation of quality. However, the size of the file is about half the size of a normal RAW image. So C-RAW is a great format, and I think the other camera manufacturers have a similar format as well.
Right, fantastic. That's really good to know. That's something I probably need to consider. Also, someone was asking, what's a good editing program?
Well, I think I use, because I shoot Canon, I use Canon's software for the RAW conversion, which is DPP, which is Digital Professional Photographer, I think it is. And then I use Photoshop. But I do notice that a lot of photographers use Lightroom. So I think if you use Lightroom or if you use Photoshop, you really won't be too far off the mark. And both of those have got great tutorials to be able to help you. Just go onto YouTube and Google how to convert, files with Photoshop or Lightroom. Or certainly BirdLife Photography's got lots of tutorials on how to do that. But it's really important you know how to do that because, you may take a great shot, but if you can make it a really good shot, if you can process it correctly, and that's really important. So your skills have got to be good in that area too. Right,
excellent. I noticed that quite a few people had also asked that question, so I'm glad we managed to get to it. So the answer is like often the brand of camera has software that you can do in camera, but then Tim, for those who didn't quite catch it, Tim sort of uses Photoshop, but a lot of good photographers also use what was it called again? Lightroom. Yes, I meant to say Lighthouse. Yes. Don't use Lighthouse. It's only good every time the beam comes around. We're getting near to the end of the hour. We will. Somebody's commented there. Lightroom is part of the Adobe suite. Is that correct, or is that
correct? Yeah. So if you want to use those, you generally have to buy the whole package. That's one of the things I like about Photoshop and Lightroom is you end up with software you don't probably use. But certainly, so it's all part of that Adobe suite. But you can buy Photoshop Elements, which is a cut-down version, and you pay once for the package. Whereas the other way that they sell it to you is it's an ongoing fee.
Yeah.
So there are alternatives.
Okay, excellent. So look around, and as Tim was saying, check out. There's lots of information on this topic on the BirdLife Photography website. I think we probably should wrap it up soon, but
Just have Zoe quickly share.
Okay.
I'll just get her to share.
Okay.
The photography website and the gallery.
Okay, so, oh, yep, there we go. So this is so Zoe's sharing this you should be able to see this here. Just a couple of questions in the Q&A have come up about the best shutter speed for birds in flight. Have you got any tips there, Tim?
Well, it depends on light, Sean.
Depends on light, yeah.
If you have a really bright day, then I like to shoot about 4 or 5 thousandths of a second. But 2 thousandths of a second will stop a bird pretty well.
Right.
And if it's a big bird, you can even come down to maybe 1,000th per second. So it all depends on the light and what type of image you're trying to capture. A creative image can be, shooting birds, moving birds at 1/10 of a second can get amazing looking images. So that's the other thing you can do there as well.
Mm.
So this is the website you can see here, Sean, that you're scrolling through. This is the BirdLife Australia Photography Awards website.
Incredible shots. Oh, there's yours.
Well, mine's not on that one, but you can see here that just the dynamic nature and the story appeal of these images and how sharp they all are. This is one of mine here coming up, which is the ibis and the moon. And don't you love the shot, that frog mouth there? Look at that frog mouth. That's just a wonderful shot. I love that shot.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of quality. So looking at these shots will inspire you, as well as hopefully not intimidate you. But that's the sort of quality you're up against here. But you need to go by entering these competitions. You'll end up with it's a good discipline to go through, and you'll get better and better and better as you start, entering more and more.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot from photographers, that actually entering competitions is kind of opens up a bit of a portal of learning in your mind, because you're really focused on, you learn from what you see in your competitors, but also it makes you think about what can I do better next time. So it's something I hadn't ever thought of when we first developed the photo award concept. It's a nice ancillary benefit there. It's thanks for that, Tim, and thanks for bearing with us, everybody, in the in this quite, we're talking about a very technical area, bird photography, and we've managed to stuff up the technicalities of actually doing a proper webinar. But it has been incredibly fascinating to hear what you've got to say, and also it's kind of got me itching to get out there and start shooting more and experimenting more than I have, Tim. So I'd like to thank you very much for making the time and for being so flexible with the adjustments we've had to make when we had our technical problems. And thank you everybody for joining in. I'm so glad to see so many people have stuck with us throughout this. This is being recorded, so we can make this available after the meeting, if you want to go back or want to share it, because there's so much valuable information here, and I think there's definitely a hunger out there for doing more of this, and we're very keen to work with BirdLife Australia Photography Group to do a lot more of these sorts of things, because obviously there's so much to learn and so much to inspire us. So Tim, thank you very, very much for coming on board with this.
Sure. No worries, Sean. Appreciate the invite, and maybe we can do it again one day.
I look forward to it. And thank you everybody for sticking with us, and I hope you get out there and get some good shots that you'll enter into the BirdLife photography competition, because it's just, I always look forward to it. It started when I was the editor of Australian BirdLife magazine. It was always a joy to go, I can't wait to publish some of these photos. So hopefully we'll be publishing yours very soon. Thank you everybody. I'm going to end it here now. And again, thank you so much to Tim. And thank you to my off-camera assistants, Holly and Zoe. I would have been floundering and just flubbing about and not knowing what to do to save this without you. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Okay. So